Yo, welcome back to the No Pusher Podcast. It's Conklin.
Yo, what's up, it's Kyle.
Yeah, man, shoot. We back at it again with another podcast for y'all. And games 3, games 4, it's about to be something we're going to tackle into. And man, the what a way for this series to, first off start. And then, it's going to be interesting how it, eventually finishes.
Yeah. It's been a pretty good series, all things considered, in terms of just the actual game of basketball. Pretty much every game, except for Game 4, which we'll talk about, has been pretty close. So I mean, we might as well get into it. So starting with Game 3, uh, Boston won. Score was 106-99. Read off some of the game stats. Jason Tatum, 31 points, shot 4 for 13 from the 3-point line, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Jaylen Brown, 30 points, shot 2 for 9 from 3, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Derek White, 16 points, shot 4 for 9 from the 3-point line, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. I mean, we talk about it from the Celtics perspective. This was we finally got a Jason Tatum good offensive game. It definitely seemed as though, he was, confident in his shots. You know what I mean? He still putting up his normal shots. He wasn't letting these last couple of games in terms of his shots falling, or should I say the lack of them falling, really, hinder or sway the way he operates. So that was good to see. He didn't lose confidence. Jaylen Brown, keeping up the same production, you know what I mean, in terms of on the offensive end, same thing on the defensive end. Derek White, I feel as though is a very underrated player in general, but especially in this game, right? Like he had a lot of very timely threes. You know what I mean? You talk about 4 for 9. That's damn near 50%, right? Shooting from the 3-point line on almost a 10 shot clip. So, when you're getting production like this from the Boston Celtics, this is their bread and butter, right? This is what they do best, right? And unfortunately, the Mavs were able to really make them feel uncomfortable. But even with that being said, right, it was still a close game. Reading off some of the Mavs stats, Luka Doncic, 27 point shot, 1 for 7 from 3. He had 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He actually ultimately ended up fouling out in Game 3, late in the fourth. Kyrie Irving, 35 points, 4 for 6 from 3. And then Derek Lively, man, you talk about 11 points, shooting 5 for 6. If I'm not mistaken, I think the only missed shot he had was like a missed alley-oop dunk. So, very, very close to being, 6 for 6 from the field. 13 rebounds and 2 steals, right? And this is not even as a starter. So being able to get this level of production, not only from a non-starter, but from your rookie, like, I mean, we've been talking about him all season, but the sky's the limit for this guy, man. You talk about, imagine what he could be in another 3-4 years, right? Being in the building with, a lot of these veteran people, not only on the coaching staff, but also in that locker room, just seeing how he matures as a player. But yeah, I mean, you talk about at halftime, the score was 51-50. Dallas had the lead, but they in the third quarter, coming out of the locker room, they lost the third quarter 35-19. You know what I mean?
Collapse.
The good teams win the third quarters. You know what I'm saying? They win the first quarters, they win the third quarters. Like those are, in my opinion, besides obviously crunch time in the fourth, are the most important quarters because that's when you make your adjustments. That's when you really get to see, okay, in my opinion, the first maybe 5 minutes of the third quarter really goes to show me, okay, how good of a coaching staff do you have, right? Because the first half, you kind of, really filling each other out, whatever, just playing basketball. When you come out in that third quarter, that's what the halftime is for, right? To calm down your team or to pep talk them up, you know what I mean? And that's when you really see your head coach. Okay, how is he a leader of men, right? So that was definitely in favor for the Boston Celtics in Game 3. And then just to end off, talking about Game 3, like it was very odd. Like late in the game, the Mavericks went on a 20-2 run, right? And kind of a situation like that, like the last thing you want to do is have a timeout call, right? Especially you're cooking right now. So usually what the opposing team does is, okay, let's call a timeout. Let's try to put some water on this fire. But it was actually the Dallas Mavericks coach, Jason Kidd, that called his own timeout. So his explanation was, players were tired, whatever. And they missed a couple shots. But in my opinion, you have to see that right out.
Yes. Yeah, and just going off to that point, that's the main thing. That third quarter coaching, like purely just calling timeouts when it's needed, right? Third quarter, you call a timeout. You don't call a timeout when they're just lighting it up, like they're going on a crazy run. Like I'm pretty sure we went like almost 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes without scoring the ball, right? And but they're over there just 25-point straight or something like that, something crazy, right? And you don't call a timeout until after we're down almost 20, 30 points,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is insane. Like I think, and then it goes to show because when you see Joe Mazzulla, you see that from the actually from this same game, right? I think in the game one where not game one for the first quarter when I think we went up pretty big, he called a timeout right away when it's only 10-point lead, right? And that's when you chop it down bit by bit. And if you need to call another timeout in 2 minutes, call another timeout, right? And that you have to be very strategic with this stuff because like you can't let something happen for too long and then it's too late,
Yes.
right? In which that happened for us in the third quarter in Game 3, and then like you said, in the fourth quarter we went on our own run,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Joe Mazzulla, maybe he should have called a timeout, but guess what? Jason Kidd called it for him.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, and you see the reactions. Like Luca looked to Jason Kidd, said, "What are you doing? Like let me push this pace. Like let us let us roll because I'm pretty sure we cut it down to 3 points, right?" And that's the main thing I want to focus on besides the coaching is that like when we're coming from behind, right, and we cut it down to like within 3, 2, or 1 point, we all, at least so far between game 1 to 3, we fail to somehow try to capitalize or I don't know, build on it in a sense, right? But instead, once we get close, we get very, very iso ballish, pretty much,
Yep.
and then we don't score for 3 minutes. Where Boston haven't scored for almost that same amount of
Mm-hmm.
time, right? And so you fail on the missed opportunities in the sense that like I said, if you miss a shot, that's a turnover. That's pretty much a turnover, right? In my eyes, and it's frustrating because you can't do that. And I said it, yeah, you can't do that against a team like the Boston Celtics, man. They will make you pay sooner or later. Maybe Game 4 didn't really show, right? But hey, it showed from games 1 to 3 for a reason. There's a reason why we were down 3-0 heading to Game 4,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's just not it's not acceptable at all, right? And then and I think flipping on to the defensive side, we all heard the chirp and we all heard the criticism that came away at the Game 3. Luca, you
Mm-hmm.
know, getting blown by every single time, almost like I think 60-something% in the
Mm-hmm.
series, right? Not playing to expectations on defensive end, not doing what he's kind of been doing the other playoff series,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so weight on his shoulders, basically, literally do or die.
Yeah.
He showed he Game 4 was a game to see what did he show, and I think he had the perfect response before the game. He said, "Let's get back to having fun." Right? And that's what happened. That's what happened. You see that from the tip off, everybody was energetic. Everybody was rushing for second chance balls or loose balls. Everything. Everybody. Kyrie, Luca. Shout out to Josh Green. He was like an energizer, but he was everywhere on defensive end and offensive end, right? But yeah, it showed. the character of this team. And I know it's only one game that we won, and I'm not really going to talk about the whole thing about the blowout. But the thing is that what I like to see is that near the end of the game, where we got to see people that haven't really played this much a series, like a Tim Hardaway Jr. I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise, right? And the reason why I say that is because who knows? Tim Hardaway. If you guys didn't see the game, or you guys turned off the TV after it was a blowout, right? If you guys didn't see Tim Hardaway Jr. once he came into the game, he got hot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he had like 4 or 5 threes in a row, right? And he ended up the game with like I think like 15, 16 points or something like that, right? And which was insane. And maybe that's something that he hasn't been shooting pretty well. He's not he hasn't been shooting well, but him seeing that ball go through a hoop, maybe it's some confidence that can build up into the next game where Jesse King might think maybe I should bring him on just to see if his his confidence build up goes on to the next game,
Mm-hmm.
right? He might get early looks here and there, and I honestly I would be open to it because at this point we have nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
Right? It's house money. We're playing. It's house money, pretty much, right? And we might as well do anything about it, right? So that's one thing I got to say about Tim Hardaway. But let me get back to the main point. The main point I want to talk about this series or these last 2 games is Derek Lively.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Lively, I've said this constantly. He is our 3rd best player on this team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anybody says. He is the one guy that one of the very few guys that I trust on defense, even in the ISO. And this is crazy. Even in the ISO situation with a Jaylen Brown or a Tatum,
Mm-hmm.
for some reason he's able to, with that that tall, at that length, right? You wouldn't really think that a center guarding Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, he's gonna get blown by.
Mm-hmm.
No, what Lively has shown me is that he's able to, shuffle his feet and make the right reads on the defensive end. He's been getting steals here and there, poking the ball out of bounds and stuff. And then on the offensive end, right? He's grown throughout this whole playoffs, little bit by little bit, right? And there's a reason there. I mean, and it's I know stats are stats, and you don't compare this to a crazy legend, but hey, he's the only rookie in NBA history to go to the finals and have a double back-to-back games. And the last person to do that was Magic Johnson. Right? And so it's great to see for his development. And I think having Tyson Chandler, that he's one of our coaches, development coaches, right? So you can definitely see the little instances of his game and his in Derek Lively's game, right? But he hit his first 3 as well. And that people was like, wait, he's hitting he shoots threes? Funny enough, he does shoot threes because in summer league, and say what you want, it is summer league, but he was shooting threes during the summer league, right? He has he shot threes before when he was in college, right? But I think when once he came to the Mavs, right, especially down the stretch, we put him in a specific role where it's like basically do your job, pretty much, right? And he's done that. But hey, like I said, we have nothing to lose, so let's pull out all the tricks out the bag, right? And if Lively can somehow get hot from 3, who knows? This could be a different series now, right? But it's one game at a time, and I'm not going to take too much away from this game because it's only one game at the end of the day, right? Like right now, if I'm the players, that like this game is cool and all to win, but I'm already focused on the the plane right back to Boston, right? And that's the mindset you got to have right now. And Kyrie, you said it to the fans. We all saw the the little video that somebody caught. He said, "I'll be back here in 5, in Game 5." So I want to see, basically put your money where your mouth is, pretty much, right? Where you gotta perform, you have to perform, right? And that I say that when people want to say with Luka, no, the Mavericks are at their best when Luka is aggressive, but no, right now, when Kyrie is aggressive,
yes,
we are better. Because in my full-hearted opinion is that Luka can do Luka things. He will always get his own. That's just who he is, right? But Kyrie is a different animal. Kyrie is a different animal in the sense that, respectfully, there's nobody that can guard him if he has his night, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
for him to get going early, that is a must. Basically, a repeat of Game 3 of what he
Hmm.
needs to do, right? And it just all goes to show that the role players do matter. Role players do matter, right? And it everybody did the thing, right? The Celtics, their role players, they didn't really do as much. You see Drew Holiday, he was very slow just to come into the game, right? He was losing I think he was trying to get in the post against Luka multiple times and then lost the ball and went out of bounds, right? And so it was really an off night for him, but that's the thing. It was an off night, right? At the end of the day, I got to see it again, right? So hoping for the best in Game 5 right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is the I kind of talked about it in one of our past episodes. Like the thing with the Boston Celtics is, as dominant as they've been, one of their weaknesses is, how funky their shooting can get. Right? You talk about
Yes.
as a team, they shot 34%. They shot 14 for 41 from the 3-point line. Mind you, they only took 80 total shots, so they took
Mm-hmm.
more than half of their shots were from the 3-point line. That
Yes.
is their recipe. So it's one of those things like because they shoot such a high volume of threes, if they're going in, it's very hard to beat this team. But it's nice like this where those shots are not falling, where for the first time in the series, Dallas was able to take advantage of that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like you talk about from the Boston Celtics point of view, like they had 26 points in the paint. You know what I mean? In four
Mm-hmm.
quarters, they had 26 points in the paint compared to the Mavericks had 60 points in the paint. They had damn near as
Yep.
many points as the Boston Celtics had the entire game just in the paint. And I feel like that is yes, this is just one game, but you have to look at okay, what works, right? And continue to do it because
Yes.
you
Have
know
to.
even with that being said, right? Like the Mavericks, at least their stars didn't have the best offensive
Right.
games in this game, but it was
Mm-hmm.
such a team effort. Like it was so many players. Like I forgot the exact number, but it was at least about 4 or 5 players in double digits. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Pretty much, they were everybody's hitting their shots. Like I believe you guys only had 8 turnovers. Like even the free throw percentage was a little higher compared to games past, right? And then on the defensive end, when you talk about like this is how you can tell like this game was over pretty quickly. Only 3 players in the entire game had 30 or more minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was pretty lopsided very early. And it was one of those things where both teams kind of recognized, okay, let's not get one of our guys hurt. Let's move on to game 5. You feel what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like Jason Tatum only took 10 shots in 27 minutes. Jalen Brown only took 12. Both of them combined only hit 7 shots. So, you
Yes.
know what I mean? Jason Tatum 1 for 4 from three. Jalen Brown 1 for 5 from three. But then you look on the Maverick side. Luka 0 for 8 from three. Kyrie 1 for 6. Right where these past 2 games at least, and this is why Game 5 is so interesting because it's kind of like the law of averages, right? Like even though in the last 2 games the Mavericks are 1-1. I mean, in those combined games, Luca is 1 for 15 from the 3-point line. Like that's only bound to change. You know what I mean? Like a player of his caliber, that's not going to keep happening. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
Like even sometimes when I'm watching the games, like if I see one of these elite players miss 3 shots, every single time I'm like, okay, this fourth one is about to go in. It don't even matter what kind of shot it is. It's just a law of averages. You know what I mean? Like they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to miss these shots forever. So that's why Game 5 is very interesting. Where if from the perspective of a Dallas Mavericks player, you got to play mind games with yourself at this point, right? Because if you keep looking at 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, you'll psych yourself out. So, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you have to look at it game by game.
Yes.
No matter what, you have to win 4 games, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
every single game we are 0-0, right? If
Mhm.
I'm a Dallas Mavericks player in my head, we are up 1-0 right now.
Yes.
Regardless, we have to win 4 games, which is doable. They have the talent to do it. Um, and yet, like you said, they have like we talked about a little bit before the pod. Like they have the talent to make history, right?
Yes.
And one of the things is, especially after now winning a game, now the pressure is on the Boston Celtics. The pressure is on the Boston Celtics to close out this series and not become the downside of history. You feel me? The
Hmm.
same way we talk about that 2016 Warriors team. If they were able to win the championship that year, we would be talking about them at least that season very, very differently. So
Yes.
the
Uh-huh.
Boston Celtics, which is a pressure that they faced before, right? With the Heat, where I believe they were same thing. I think they were either up 3-1 or up 3-0, and the series went to 7, right? Where you can see game 5 and 6, the pressure was building. You could see it. Now they wound up, coming back game 7 and closing out the series. But as a player, like, and again, if those guys don't have their mental right, you can very, very easily see this series flipping on its head. So I'm definitely looking forward to Game 5. I'm sure as all you guys are. Um, it's a lot of things can happen, right? Because you think about it, if the Mavericks are able to force now to Game 6, then like I said, there's questions that have to be they come into play of okay, the Mavericks are playing with house money and the Boston Celtics might be crumbling.
So what you're saying is that there's a chance.
There's always a chance.
There's
There's
always a
always a
chance.
chance.
There's always a
Until
chance.
somebody has 4 wins, listen,
Hmm.
ain't nobody holding up the trophy right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of something you said before the pod. Why not the Mavericks?
Exactly. And just to go off of that, you know, I think one thing we gotta, you know, take away from this game is the intensity and the effort
Mm-hmm.
level. You saw that every loose ball, like I said, every loose ball, every second chance, every rebound, everything, right? Running to the ball, closing out, the effort, it's always the effort, man. And it
Mm-hmm.
showed. And if there's one thing I want to take away from that night is that alone, and that has to transfer on to Game 5. It has to, right? Even if we're not shooting well, that has to everything starts on defensive end. It has to
Yep.
start, right? If you're not going to make shots, you gotta play defense. You got to, right? And if you don't play defense against these Boston Celtics, man, it's gonna be like Game 1 all over again, where they can run up the score, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. You know, uh, no Porzingis is very very interesting
Mm-hmm.
because we've seen Porzingis dominated us in Game 1, and he had spurts in Game 2 until he got
Mm-hmm.
hurt, right? He was made available for Game 4, but they said in certain situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was just like just just putting a word out there, just say, hey, we could use them, just mess quote unquote mess up with our game plan or whatever, right? But I
Yep.
don't really think they were gonna have to play him if play him anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be interesting what his game time decision is gonna be for Game 5, because if it's also questionable or he's not gonna play, you got to take advantage again, man,
Have to.
because you have Al Horford, which he is respectable, right? And then you have what, Xavier Tillman and Luke Cornett.
Mm-hmm.
Gafford and Derek Lively should be eating that up,
Mm-hmm.
man. And talk about Lively, like I said, double double back to back games now, right? You got a rookie who he's been on fire, man. And shoot, if I'm Derek Lively right now, I'll be working on shooting my threes and free throws, because you
Yep.
never know. Because they had here's the thing, the Celtics, they've done their scouting report, they've done their thing, scouting the Mavs and like what to take from game to game about the Mavs, right? But what they haven't seen yet is Lively shooting threes. That presents a whole different level,
Yep.
right? And so it's going to be interesting if we're able to maybe get Lively on some more catch and shoot corner threes, because who knows, if he starts lighting it up, it could be a huge factor for us, right?
Yeah.
And that makes us a different dimension on offense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
And I feel
so
like like you said, like with the KP injury, the way
Mm-hmm.
that it has completely changed this series is because now from the Boston Celtics, now we're relying on Xavier Tillman minutes, which
Mm-hmm.
going especially going off of Game 3, he struggled in the minutes that he was in the game. You know what I mean? Whether
Yes.
it was a Gafford, whether it was a Lively, whether it even was a Luca, right? Like he was now a target to go after. They were trying to get him
Mm-hmm.
involved in every single action, whether it's making a move in space, whether like I believe there was one transition 3-point shot that Kyrie Irving hit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it was something that the broadcast said where it was like he gave him way too much space. Like that is a shot you cannot give Kyrie Irving. You know what I mean? Like I
Yes.
think immediately Gafford screened Derek White on the transition and it's like it was shooting practice. You know what I mean? Just straight up just pull up. And it was cash.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's definitely another factor in this series going forward where beforehand, right, with KP and all those guys, it was nobody to target on defense. But now
Yes.
with Xavier Tillman now getting extended minutes, the Mavericks now have someone.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? And like, if I was Luca, and I'm hearing everybody just criticizing his defense and everything, shoot, I'm gonna find out if I'm Luca. I'm gonna do my best. Look at the scouting report, look back at the tape, and find out who's that one guy that I can pick on. Because if they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna pick on me, pick out on me on defense, I said I know I'll try my best on defense even better, right? But here, look at this way. I'll find somebody on your team to pick on them every single play, and that's what we
Mm-hmm.
saw in Game 4, right? Now, then I'll give Tillman some props. He made he made some stops a couple times, but he was getting cooked. He was getting
Yeah.
cooked way too much. And there's this I don't know this pick and roll or screen and roll type of thing that we've been doing where we somehow just have Luca or Kyrie on Tillman on an island.
Mm-hmm.
That's barbecue chicken. That's got
Yep.
to be barbecue chicken, man. Like, and I love that. Like, instead of us, usually we're the Mavs. We've been like more of a 3-point shooting team as well. But
Mm-hmm.
over this series, these last two games, especially, right? Attack the paint.
Yep.
Attack the paint, right? Because when you get to the paint, you're settled for easier shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's all about physicality. It's all about taking advantage over matchups, right? And that's all it is in the finals, taking advantage of other teams' problems. And right now, the Celtics have done better at that,
Mm-hmm.
right? But Game 5, it's going to be really interesting. Going back to TD Bank Park, I mean Stadium, but it's going to be a tough one. But me being a fan of the Mavericks, you know, I gotta believe. If you're a fan, right, you gotta believe, right? And some people may say, "Oh, you're delusional. You're delusional." It's not really delusion, unless you say so. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what it means to be, a real fan. So,
Mhm.
definitely, regardless, everybody's gonna be watching. Game 5, I believe is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, it's Monday. They give him three
Monday,
days.
yeah, yeah, Monday. My days are all the way cooked. But so, with that being said, I feel like that's a great point, to wrap up the pod. You know, again, you guys, we appreciate all the support you guys have been giving, on our channel, all our social media. So we'll definitely have everything linked in the description. Make sure you guys like, comment, and share, right?
Yes,
If you have
sir.
anybody that you feel as though would enjoy our content, sports talk and all that, like definitely send our pod their way. You know what I mean? Like if
Mhm.
you or if you guys are watching, try to leave a comment if things that we can improve on, things that you guys want more of. If even if you guys want to suggest topics for us to talk about, right? Because as the NBA season starts to die down, we're getting closer to like a little bit of a dead space in terms of sports.
Mhm.
So if you guys are interested in any topics, or even if you want to think about them in our next videos, like definitely drop them down. We'll definitely be reading the comments, looking for them. Right? So again, with that being said, it's been a no bullshit podcast, man. We'll catch you on the next one.
Sir, peace out.